I don't know how good he is because he hasn't really faced a real fighter yet. It's not his fault. He signed to fight Tommy Fury.
Jake Paul is losing his mind after getting absolutely hammered by experts left and right. And honestly, it's the kind of meltdown you just can't look away from. This guy has been flooding Instagram for weeks, hyping himself up like he's about to be the one to retire Mike Tyson. Yeah, you read that right. Retire a man who's been in the ring for 40 years, which, let's be real, is double Jake's entire lifespan.
The problem is, you are beating up on dudes who don't box. They're not boxers.
And the experts, they didn't hold back. Not a single one hesitated to call Jake out on his nonsense. They shredded him without mercy. And if you're somehow on Jake's side in this, well, you might want to think twice about watching the rest of this because it's about to get brutal. You're wondering why all the experts suddenly decided to roast Jake Paul like he's the main course at a BBQ? Well, let me break it down for you. Jake's recent arrest at his vacation house? Yeah, it sent shockwaves through the media, but let's be real here. Are we even surprised anymore?
Oh, this.
Yo, chill,
Yo,
dude.
this, dude.
Put the camera down.
Bro.
Chill, wait.
This guy practically breathes controversy. It's like his default setting. Sure, he got out on bail faster than he can tweet, but the real damage? Oh, that's to his already flimsy public image. If Jake thought he could sweep this one under the rug like one of his Twitter feuds, he's in for a massive wake-up call. And trust me, the experts wasted zero time sinking their teeth into this mess. Every boxing analyst, fighter, and promoter who once gave him even a smidgen of credibility is now just unloading. No one's rushing to his defense, and there's definitely no let's give Jake the benefit of the doubt moment happening here. Nah, instead, it's like everyone had their I told you so moment locked and loaded, just waiting for him to mess up, and boy, did he deliver. His arrest was just more proof that Jake Paul isn't serious about boxing. Everyone's been thinking it, but now this just seals the deal. It's like they were all sitting around, waiting for him to slip up so they could finally say it out loud. Jake's whole boxing career is more of a side hustle to his chaotic, drama-filled life. And here's where it gets even worse for Jake. This isn't just a legal issue. This is about respect, or in Jake's case, the total lack of it. When the experts, the voices in boxing, don't even bother to stick up for you, that's when you know your reputation is on life support. Jake's arrest is the final nail in the coffin for anyone who ever took him seriously as a fighter. Oh, and the irony here? Jake has always thrived off attention and controversy. The guy lives for the drama. But now, it's crystal clear that this time, his antics have backfired in a way even he can't spin. Instead of being remembered for his knockouts or his wins, Jake's becoming the poster child for immaturity and lack of discipline. And who can roast better than Eddie Hearn? He didn't waste a single moment after Jake Paul's arrest to absolutely roast him. Seriously, it was brutal. Hearn, the guy who's been at the top of the boxing promotion game for years, has always been pretty vocal about Jake Paul's so-called boxing career. But after Jake's arrest,
There's absolutely no way he can beat a world champion and become world champion. But
Hearn took things to an entirely new level. He laid it all out there. No filter. In Hearn's eyes, Jake Paul is basically a wannabe with some wild delusions of becoming a boxing champion. I mean, Hearn didn't even sugarcoat it. He went straight for the jugular. And of course, he had to point out that Jake's constant shenanigans outside the ring are doing a fantastic job of sealing his fate. According to Hearn, all these antics, from trash talking to getting arrested, are throwing whatever credibility Jake thought he had as a boxer right into the dumpster.
I don't know how good he is because he hasn't really faced a real fighter yet. It's not his fault. He signed to fight Tommy Fury.
And coming from someone as well-respected as Eddie Hearn, that's not something to take lightly. Hearn has worked with actual champions, fighters who've grinded for years, and to him, Jake's behavior is the total opposite of what it takes to make it to the top. Hearn even went so far as to compare Jake to those boxers who spend their entire lives dreaming of becoming heavyweight champions, but never get anywhere near it. He basically said Jake's dreams of being a boxing champ are just as ridiculous. And let's be real here. When someone of Hearn's stature says that, you have to take it seriously. This isn't just some random troll throwing shade on Twitter. This is Eddie Hearn, a guy who's seen it all in boxing, calling Jake's entire career a joke.
I don't believe you will ever get close to being a world-class fighter.
But here's where it gets even juicier. Hearn wasn't just talking about Jake's skills. He took a shot at Jake's entire persona. According to Hearn, Jake's obsession with controversy, his immature behavior, and his arrest are proof that he's more interested in being a circus sideshow than a serious athlete.
Jake looked pretty average because Gibb was terrible as well.
In Hearn's eyes, Jake's just a distraction, a loudmouth who'll never make it to the top of the sport. And let's be honest, when Eddie Hearn is out here saying you'll never be a champion, that hits deep. And speaking of hits, Stephen A. Smith wasn't about to let Jake slide either. If you thought Hearn's takedown was rough, just wait till you hear what Smith had to say. And this was right to Jake's face, no less. Stephen A., the king of bluntness, looked Jake dead in the eye and straight up questioned his courage.
If nothing else, is in shape. Now, I'll give Jake Paul credit for this. At least he's in the ring with a boxer, as opposed to a striker or somebody who's pretending to be a boxer but really isn't, or a basketball player, or somebody like that. I give him credit because he's going to step into the ring, and when he steps into the ring, it's going to be against an actual boxer.
Like, why is Jake so dead set on fighting Mike Tyson of all people? It's like Smith was asking the question that everyone else was thinking but hadn't said out loud. What in the world is Jake Paul doing, going after one of the most dangerous boxers in history? Let's break it down. Stephen A. Smith knows athletes inside and out, so when he publicly questions Jake's decision-making, it's not just a casual jab. It's a full-on interrogation of Jake's entire approach to boxing. Smith made it painfully clear that Jake has never fought a legitimate boxer in his life, yet here he is chasing a fight with Mike Tyson? I mean, come on.
Boxers! Nate Robinson was a basketball player. Ben Askren came out there looked like with a pose, looking like he Jake LaMotta. He was 19-1 in the UFC, but he was never a boxer. He was a grappler. And Tyron Woodley's a striker.
Meanwhile,
And Jake? He had nothing. No solid response, no witty comeback, just the same overconfident bravado we've all seen a million times. It's one thing to act tough, but when someone like Stephen A. Smith is questioning your courage to your face and you don't have a decent answer, yeah, that's when you start to look like you're in way over your head. And trust me, that's exactly how Jake came across, like a guy who bit off way more than he could chew. Stephen A. wasn't done, though. Oh no, he went even further, suggesting that Jake is seriously underestimating Tyson. And honestly, that's putting it lightly. We're talking about Mike Tyson here, a man whose power and aggression are still terrifying, even at his age. But Jake's acting like this is just another one of his casual, attention-grabbing fights. Smith pointed out the obvious. Jake is not ready for the level of destruction Tyson can dish out, and it's starting to look like Jake's way too caught up in his own hype to see it.
The problem is, you are beating up on dudes who don't box. They're not boxing.
At this point, Stephen A.'s takedown only added to the mountain of doubt surrounding Jake. Sure, Jake's won a few fights, but none of them were against real boxers. And now he thinks he can take on Mike Tyson? It's reckless, plain and simple. Stephen A. wasn't the only one raising an eyebrow, but the way he laid it all out right in front of Jake was just brutal. And Jake? He had no real defense for why he's going after Tyson, except for that overinflated ego of his.
He is going to hurt. So one should anticipate that Jake Paul is going to get hurt, going to get hit with a punch. We have to at least consider.
KSI has never been one to hold back when it comes to Jake Paul, and after Jake's arrest, oh man, KSI went in harder than ever. This isn't just your average everyday rivalry either. This is personal.
I don't know. Jake Paul lost. Lost to Tommy Fury. Lost by...
The bad blood between these two runs deep, going all the way back to when KSI squared off against Logan Paul, Jake's older brother, in the ring. That lit the fuse. But KSI has always saved a special kind of disdain just for Jake. And let me tell you, after this arrest, KSI didn't pull any punches. He was ready to verbally knock Jake out. KSI's latest roast of Jake was nothing short of savage. At this point, Stephen A.'s takedown only added to the mountain of doubt surrounding Jake. Sure, Jake's won a few fights, but none of them were against real boxers. And now he thinks he can take on Mike Tyson? It's reckless, plain and simple.